Thinking of investing, working, or starting a business in the cannabis industry? We've got you covered right here on Plant Problems. Hosted by Tony Frischknecht, Plant Problems takes a different approach to cannabis than what you're seeing and hearing from the mainstream media. Come along with Tony and be in the know about how to invest, work, or start a cannabis business. Let's get the show started with your host, Tony Frischknecht.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Plant Problems. Today's show is going to be the fourth in an 8-part series. We've really been digging in deep into some great topics from Flavia Hungaro. And we're going to continue our discussion this week and what role success plays being able to lean on family and friends when you're building a business. Please excuse some of the slow recording. We had a little bit of technical difficulty with Wi-Fi. I'm sure some of you are used to that, but I think the information is valuable enough. I still want to share it with you. So without further ado, here's the show. These partnerships, let's say, so at least a year in Boston. This partnership here, what are they bringing to the table in Boston?
So in Boston, for a social equity participant that qualifies in the Boston social equity program, they require that they have at least 51% ownership.
Yes.
Of the store. So if bringing somebody with and most of the time when I look for a partner, I see their potential, and I would rather look for somebody who might not have more knowledge of the industry but has the same potential as I do, so we can always we can grow together. That's that was my goal, and this is what I'm looking for when I look for a partner, because sometimes some people might have the money, but they don't want to put effort. Money, it's a lot, right? I'm not taking that away from them, but in my case, there's somebody also from the social equity program that I met, and there's a friend of mine as well that we've been working together on this partnership.
So on the Boston, you've got a local Boston person. So yeah. What are they bringing to the table specifically for Boston?
So they have they live around the same neighborhood. So they have they know a lot of people around. They are part of the community, and I think that's the important things.
Are they going to run the store? Or are they going to?
Yeah. Yes, that's the plan. We are going to be there. It's not going to be people from outside of the town. There's a company that I'll be working with on my first project that they're going to be helping me. It's a staffing company, so they're going to be giving me guidance as well, since they have the experience to run the store. And then probably by the time I open Boston or Cambridge, let's say, if I have that opportunity there, I will have already enough understanding of the whole retail industry, if I can say that way.
The good thing is you can learn. If you've been around hospitality, you've been around retail, you can pick this stuff up. You'll have to build systems and put them in place, but you'll be able to do that stuff. It's not rocket science. It takes some time to get really good at it and to really understand your numbers, but it's not rocket science. That's the best part. Okay, let's go. Now I'm going to jump around a little bit, and I'm going to ask you some questions about each location, kind of what I did with Boston here, because I'm trying to figure out, here, we'll go through this exercise and then I'll go back. Okay, so Taunton, you have the agreement with the owner. Do you have a partnership? You don't have a partnership in Taunton, do you?
No, my company is myself, and I have a partner.
Yeah.
That's that. I don't have a partnership with the owner. No.
Okay, but do you have? Okay, so no partner. Yeah. So, and then so again, you've got a partnership. Is it okay if I share that you have a partnership with your mother-in-law? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
We won't share her name just so people know,
Yeah, no, that's
because
fine.
because it adds a different dynamic when you're going into business with family. And
Right.
there's
And
a
I gotta give her a lot of credit too, because she's the one, backing me up, right? And
yeah. No, it's great. It is. It's different with family though. You have to really be mindful on your decisions because at the end of the day, I mean, she's probably, from what I gathered from you yesterday, she's probably given you some backing, financial backing, that is her retirement, I'm guessing.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a very sensitive topic too, because especially because it's her retirement. So, and everything takes longer than you expect in real
Exactly.
life. So, I thought that we're gonna have one of the stores open by now, and we're still not there yet, but we are really close.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is hope. But yeah, if she's been like the one of the biggest supporters, because definitely if it wasn't for her, probably I wouldn't be able to be here right now pursuing these licenses. So
And you're no different than most people. I actually um, borrowed money from friends and family. I had about 15,000 of my own. I was able to borrow another 15,000 from actually my girlfriend at the time, and then I borrowed another 22,000 from a friend of mine. So it's friends and family that really get these things going, especially with no financing. So what you're doing is fairly normal. I think, again, it's hard for people to understand, well, how am I going to get my family involved to help me out? Well, you got to get family or friends, because nobody's going to give you money out there, most of them.
mhm.
And that's just the way it works. Okay, so do you have, out of all these locations, have you started building on any of them currently? Is there any construction happening?
Yeah, so in Taunton, the like I said, the property owner, the agreement we had is it was just a piece of land, so he did the build out of the shell, and now
Okay.
I just have to do the inside.
Okay, so there's a new building that's already up and constructed. Now the tenant finish is on the inside, and he's waiting for you to start that, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And then pulling up the permits
Do you
this
have
week, so we'll be able to start.
do you have the finances to do the build out?
I do.
Okay.
It will be on my partner's side, and
Yeah.
if we, for example, she has properties that she could borrow money to, so we can finish the project, which is a very sensitive topic, because like we were talking about, it's her retirement, and it's
Yeah.
property that she inherited. So the best way would be to just get like hard money, and even though we would pay more for uh, interest, it seems like it would be easier, just so we don't have to, touch any of the properties that she has.
Yeah, because you were looking at, I think you told me
And that would be that's been like the.
I think you told-
However, the
yeah,
one thing that because I'm trying to find ways so we don't have to go that route, and I was very fortunate. I'm, like you said, I'm Brazilian, and the subcontractors doing the construction in Taunton, they actually are also Brazilian.
okay.
So, as I was, going to the site to see how the job was coming out, I started talking to them and, explain my situation. And I was very fortunate, and I didn't know this was ever gonna happen, is that they're gonna help me um, doing the construction and letting me pay them after the store's open.
That's,
Which
that's,
that's
that's
not something that you see happening all the time.
yeah, that's very creative. That's a great idea.
And that would reduce my costs a lot. And some of them, they waited let me do that and pay after, or they are just requiring the money for the materials,
Yeah.
and then I'll pay for their labor afterwards.
Okay, so I really like that idea. That's a new one that I've heard, and I hope people take that one and use that to their advantage because sounds like you're able to use your nationality as
Right.
as collateral, right? Like they trust
Right.
you, right?
And
That's
also because some of them, they actually are familiar because they know people who got involved in this industry. So they have an idea how much money this, stores are making right now, and they know it's a fact that, I'll be able to pay them back after. The point is having enough money so you can start the and finish the build out so you can actually be open for business. That's
how much is the build out budget?
it depends. It's between around well, I've heard different numbers, so it could be anywhere depending, how nice you want to look inside as well, and the materials that you're going to use. But it would be like around, the quotes I got for my store is like 300, 320, $380,000.
So
However,
between three and 400,
huh?
between 300,000 and 400,000.
Yeah, but I also heard, some other people that are willing to work with me that it could be as low as, let's say, between 50 and 75,000, dollars, if I give money for the materials, and then they give me a break on the labor
Yeah. Okay.
cost. So as
So
long as I have, Home Depot cards and I can put stuff
whatever you can use. That's what I say.
using those credit. Yeah, and so I can minimize my costs as well. My goal is to have one store open, and if I can get the help, like I was able to manage with the Brazilian crew. If I can do that with them and be able to open the first store, then I'll be able to fund my other projects, and that way I don't have to use, go deep into borrowing money from, properties that my partner, my mother-in-law, would have.
Yeah. So Taunton's going to be the first of those then, right? As I take it that's going to be
It could be the Berkeley or Taunton. It could
Berkeley.
be, yeah.
Okay.
If I had the funding, I could probably open then both of them around the same time. But I'm trying to play smart as well. And so I'm at this point, we still, I'm not sure which one is going to be the first one, but uh, yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about that because I was trying to get to where you were going to start. So what's the difference now between what's tying you up about deciding whether it's going to be Berkeley or Taunton?
So there's one more hearing that I'm gonna have in Taunton, which it was supposed to be scheduled and hasn't been scheduled yet. They changed the dates a few times now. And that's basically what is kind of like putting me a little bit behind schedule, but I'm planning to just keep, moving forward. And so, because the main, my goal was to be open by December,
Mm-hmm.
which, there's a lot of like, people spend a lot of money around Christmas. So my goal was to get some of the timing there and have one of the stores open. But depending on how besides my wishes, there's also to finish the construction, which, because, on one hand, they are all helping me to have this project built out. I also depend on them, on their time, because they're doing me a favor as well to have everything done, in a matter of in a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so that's basically that's what I'm waiting for. And this week also I'm pulling up the inside build out permits. So that's what I've been waiting as well.
Okay.
So I might have the build out permits for both stores, and then I'm gonna see it's going to be like a waiting game to see which one, or a strategic game, let's say that way, which one would make more sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to understand too, because it seems like uh, Taunton is, it's got quite a few more people in it. However, I don't know what you've got the lease. Are you paying on the lease in Berkeley right now?
Yeah, so in Berkeley, I'm not. The owner has been very helpful, so I haven't. And that's another thing too. So I was actually very lucky to find property owners who were willing to work with me for most of the time, and that saved me some money as well. Um, and for example, for Berkeley, I haven't really spent much money in the property side of it. I did have to spend money with traffic studies and engineers and so forth. But for Taunton, I'm already paying. The owner was actually very helpful in the beginning, where I only had to pay like a very small amount of money for him to hold the
Mhm.
property. But then once we started doing construction, we had a deal where I had to, give him some money, and also now I am paying the full rent there
So,
because
so Berkeley's not costing you anything, but Taunton's starting to cost you money because he's built out the whole
but
building,
now, but
and
now
now we need some money coming back in.
right. So now that I am going to construction, I do have to give a deposit for the Berkeley location,
Okay.
but they are still willing to work with me and letting just pay for a deposit, and then I'll pay them after the store is open, the monthly, because we're going to be putting a lot of money into the build out as well. So they want to see this as a benefit for his property, as the amount of money that I'll be investing there.
Yeah, exactly. Um, One thing that I'm noticing, especially, I'm thinking back to my experiences in cannabis, is I think if you're going to be putting 300 to 400K a into a build out, I think that's extremely high.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know costs are expensive and everything's going up. However, it being such a new industry in Boston, particularly, people just want to be able to buy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
noticed when we put money into our store, because we had to kind of build from the inside, we put money into our store and we just put what we could and we kept changing things.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for a little advice, is maybe think about what can I do to just to get this open? How can you've got the lease option on Taunton, which is good, but you're going to experience different changes throughout your growth of a business, and you might change your layout. You might do all this stuff that you're like, geez, had I not spent 50,000 on this silly countertop that we did here that we're not even using, right? And so if there's a way you can,
Mm-hmm.
preserve some of your cash in the build out there from the beginning, I think might be good looking into right now, because I think probably 100, 150 max maybe to start, and then get that money flowing in so that you can reinvest in your business, and that'll keep you guys a lot less cash strapped as you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to build this out. Because I noticed we changed entry points. We were allowed to do medical and recreational, and I'm not sure how the system works there. But we split our store in half at a point, and we put entrances in different ways. And we had to change this as we were going through. And had
Mm-hmm.
we had just gone in and like some of these big nice stores that I've seen where, let's say for like MedMen, for example, out in California, they spend, you know, they could spend $1 million on the interior of this place, and it's nice and everything, but it's not necessary in the beginning because people just want to be able to buy flour, right?
Right.
and it's going to sell because there's not many people selling it.
Right.
That's the beauty of it. Now the market will grow, but you can grow with it.
Mm-hmm.
You can grow your retail and your customer service and your your customer centric focus as the market matures. And then it's like, okay, we've got this extra 50,000 that we have set aside for building. Now let's go build. Let's do some remodeling in the store. Let's do some changes here, and it will help you out a lot in the long run from wasting money, because it's really easy to go in here. And I love making nice buildings and nice stores and stuff. However, it's just not necessary all the time. And if you're in a community that's like, this girl's putting everything she can into it, people will see that and they'll come to your store to support you. And that will speak volumes to the area you're in. So that's just one thing I want to point out, because I think for people that are looking in, well, how much money can I spend, or how much money am I going to have to spend? So if you're able to negotiate the labor with these guys, don't focus so much on the material itself. Look at it as, okay, what's good enough that people will be like, you know what, she did a nice job, but it's not too extravagant, the interior work. Because right now, I'm telling you, if this guy's built a store for you, it probably looks beautiful on the outside, right?
Yes, I gotta send you a picture of it.
That's my guess. And I think you'll probably have to do some really good communication to the owner to explain this. But if you look at the long term and he sees your vision of wanting to buy the store and you can lay that out for him, he will think you are a smarter business person for making these hard decisions right now because you want to own the store. And I think ultimately, as the owner, his end goal is selling you that store at a nice profit.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
it's going to take some mental discipline on your side if you choose, and this is entirely up to you, if you choose to use a strategy like this. Because I've seen a lot of people go down this road, and I've done it myself, and to try to save you from some of the mistakes and some of the wasted money is what I'm here for, and that's what I try to do. So I want to point that out, and then it looks like you've got a little leeway on Berkeley right now. He's probably going to want a deadline at some point, though, for when he's going to start collecting a lease, right?
Well, the agreement that we have is he's just requiring a deposit, which will be worth a month rent, and with that, he's going to allow me to start the build out.
Okay, so
he's gonna let me open first before I start making monthly payments.
Okay, and then does he have you given him any deadlines for opening yet?
I've planned to open, by January. That's the deadline.
That's what you have. Okay. Do you have a contingency that if you don't open in January?
No.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to suggest something else.
Okay.
Since you are on this path right now, I don't want to divert you from what you're doing. However, I think Taunton should be your priority. I think Berkeley is coming. However, I think you're a little aggressive on opening both stores very close to each other. You're going to have to get up to speed yourself with running the store. Then you're going to have to train people. And I'm not sure if your mother-in-law is going to be involved in any of the training or running of the daily business, but that's going to take a lot of effort. And what happens is if you open both these stores at the same time, you're going to have mass confusion because you're not going to have systems in place that are running these stores.
Mhm.
You're going to have little things like, okay, this is what we do with the cash at the end of the night. But what about, we have these theft, we've got, I've got to watch security cameras. There are multiple things that are happening in that retail environment that if you're not paying attention, it can get stolen right out from underneath you because you don't have these safety systems in place. And I'm sure you're going to figure that out. However, if you're able to figure out with Taunton, if you're able to figure that out over like a 4 to 6 month period and figure out some of the glitches that are in your system, and you can iron those out, and you can take and mimic that in Berkeley. They're not going to be exactly the same because a few things are going to be different. However, it's going to save you a lot of time in Berkeley because you don't have to work through those problems again, right?
Mhm.
And so that will help iron those issues out, and all of a sudden you're up and you're running more like a machine in Berkeley, and you're making more money because you're not having to figure that out. You're not magnifying your problems, basically.
Mhm.
So just from my personal experience, because we opened a store and a grow at the same time. Fortunately enough, we had enough business partners that were involved, but it was pandemonium. And so anytime you're opening these up at the same time and you've never opened one before, the learning curve is pretty steep. But if you're able to take and learn from Taunton and transfer over to Berkeley, my suggestion would be to talk to the landlord and say, hey, we know we want to open in January. However, our focus needs to be Taunton so that we can put our focus in Berkeley next. So how about we talk about maybe a small lease payment to keep them satisfied, at least to buy yourself a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
Because managing the project with the build out is going to be some time. And I'm assuming you're probably going to be on site like, okay, what do we need to get done? I'm not sure if you have any commercial background, or any construction background, but there's going to be a lot of information that these builder guys, the Brazilians, they're going to want answers for.
Mm-hmm.
And they may have a head contractor, but he's going to be talking to you. And so that's going to pull a lot of your time away from focusing on Berkeley. And so you don't stack too much on your plate and overwhelm yourself. Give yourself a little bit of room. We tend to, again, I said this to you yesterday, or a couple days ago, we tend to want to run as fast as possible. And this is a marathon, this cannabis game. And so if you're only looking at 70 retail stores over the time frame, over the entire state, you've got plenty of time. What you're going to find is that there's a lot of these companies that are out there that are way more more funded than you. They've got millions and millions of dollars. So they can hire on a lot of these people to do the management side, to bring in and do the reach. But you, as a startup, and you're working on a tight budget, you're going to have to do a lot of the stuff yourself in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And that's going to pull you away from these other operations that you're trying to get up and running.
Right.
And so my fear is that if you don't get Taunton happening for you, you might never realize the rest of these.
Right.
And I know that's kind of straight and to the point, but if you get one store running and you get a management in place, that allows you to go, okay, now let's take this next step, and we're not in a rush. Hey guys, sorry, but this is the end of this week's episode. Please come join us in the continuing series. We are going to find out next week the issues Flavia is struggling with in Taunton, Mass, and what she's doing to prepare to overcome some of these hurdles. So, guys, thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
You've just listened to another insightful episode of Plant Problems. If you like what you heard so far, don't forget to tell your friends and colleagues. For additional resources or to leave a review, head over to plantproblem.com. Join us again next week on Plant Problems with Tony Frischknecht. We look forward to having conversations with you as we go along this journey.